Hello, you're watching News Mongolia on MNB World, and I'm your host, Jargal. For today's top stories, relying solely on the mining industry may have its risks in the long run. 70% of child abuse cases occur in the family environment. The introduction of the first e-library took place. For the news, stay tuned. Mongolia, being traditionally reliant on its mining sector, is taking significant steps to mitigate economic risks associated with a singular focus. Recognizing the vulnerability of such dependence, the government has implemented robust policies, including port renewal and economic diversification initiatives aimed at boosting trade and exports.
These strategic measures have already yielded promising results, with Mongolia achieving noteworthy $791 million surplus in its trade balance. The surplus not only reflects the success of government's policies but also signals a positive trajectory towards a more balanced and resilient economy. In a move to further fortify its economic foundation, the government has set ambitious targets for the nation's GDP per capita, currently standing at $5,000 in 2023. The government aims to raise the figure to $6,000 in the coming year. This planned increase underscores the commitment to fostering sustainable economic growth and improving the standard of living for the Mongolian populace.
Mongolia is quite dependent economically on mining and minerals. 75% of foreign investors work in the mining sector, and 90% of exports are mining products. However, it's quite risky to be mainly dependent on just one sector. Therefore, the government of Mongolia pursues a policy to diversify its economy and to add a variety of export products to enhance infrastructure and upgrade railroads and ports. This will protect the local economy from external risks. The poverty rate in Mongolia has been reduced from 29% to 26%, but we still need to work to reduce this number even further.
The diversification efforts not only reduce the inherent risks associated with a heavy reliance on the mining sector, but also position Mongolia as a more attractive destination for foreign investments. By fostering a more dynamic and varied economic landscape, the nation is better equipped to cope with fluctuations in global commodity markets.
In a concerning revelation, recent statistics indicate that a staggering 70% of child violence occurs within the confines of the family environment. While Mongolia boasts a commendable legal framework, the unfortunate reality is that the related bodies are not working together effectively. This means the implementation of legal policies leaves a lot to be desired. Urgent steps need to be taken to prevent abuse before it occurs.
The scope of this issue is becoming even more alarming when considering that approximately 400,000 children in Mongolia find themselves in risky environments. Over the past 9 months, the emergency hotline 108 received a staggering 11,000 calls, with 1,200 of them directly related to violence against children. These numbers underscore the pressing need for more comprehensive intervention strategies. Taking a closer look at Sukhbata district, home to about 51,000 children aged 0 to 18, reveals a particularly distressing scenario. In this district alone, 500 calls were made to the emergency hotline, with a staggering 85% of them tied to instances of child abuse in the family environment. This highlights a critical need for localized initiatives and targeted support systems to safeguard the well-being of the younger population. Child abuse takes on various forms, necessitating a multifaceted approach to address the issue effectively. From physical to emotional abuse, each type demands specific attention and tailored interventions. It is crucial for communities, law enforcement, and social services to work together to create a protective environment for children. We spend a lot of time checking after calls that were made, but I think preventive measures are really important. There is a wrong perception among parents that children are the property of parents, so it's their decision whether they will leave their children to stay at home alone or with somebody they know, as they gave birth to them. We are working closely with children who have become victims of abuse and violence to overcome the trauma. We also organize psychological mentoring training and sessions.
It's really important to identify the case of child violence. So the role of local district social workers is really vitally important. Our country is quite strict on child abuse cases, and we also pay attention to preventive measures. When we study child violence cases, unfortunately, 70% of cases occur in a family environment. Therefore, we should promote traditional family values and ways of raising children.
As Mongolia grapples with the challenge of child violence, stakeholders must prioritize enhancing the coordination between relevant bodies, fortifying the implementation of legal policies, and fostering a proactive approach to prevention. The well-being of the nation's youth depends on a united front against abuse, ensuring that every child grows up in an environment free from violence and fear.
The days of filling your bag with books and carrying them between school and home are over. Now you can access your study materials through the internet from anywhere you want. A digital library, also known as an e-library project, implemented by the Library of the National University of Mongolia, has been in operation for 1 year, and the results from the past period have been presented. For instance, law school students are required to study legislative books alongside their regular coursework. With approximately 500 pages, this book feels more like a brick. This poses various challenges, including the inconvenience of carrying such a hefty book in a regular bag and the obligation to return it to the library promptly, resulting in the book not being fully utilized. If the book we need is in the e-library, we can use it online by informing each other, eliminating the need to physically retrieve it from university libraries.
Having the ability to log in with a student ID and read books online from anywhere in the world supports and provides opportunities for our students' motivation and desire to learn. Moving forward, we plan to digitize both widely used rare and ancient books.
All books in the e-library are copyrighted. Efforts are also being made to carefully manage the reproduction of these books and prevent copyright-related conflicts.
The software we use to upload books removes the capability to print, copy, or reproduce them. Our e-library storage server is officially licensed, and we have implemented robust measures for storage and protection.
Research indicates that the National University of Mongolia's library was the most active, leading to the implementation of the project through its internal funds. This marks the inception of the first major copyright-free online library. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Next, our program will turn our attention to foreign news, partnered with international news agencies. The United States and the Philippines were conducting joint air and maritime patrols in the South China Sea, which come as the two countries step up cooperation in the face of growingly aggressive Chinese activity in the area.
The Philippine Air Force said on Wednesday its aircraft had taken part in joint patrols on Tuesday in the vicinity of Batanes, the northernmost province of the Philippines, which is only about 200 kilometers from Taiwan, a self-governed island China claims as its own. The patrols ran through Thursday and also include both the U.S. and Philippine navies. They come only days after Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. called the situation in the South China Sea increasingly dire as China seeks to assert its presence in an area where multiple nations have competing territorial claims. China claims virtually the entire South China Sea as its own waters, which has led to disputes not only with the Philippines but also with Vietnam, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Brunei, which have long been regarded as a potential flashpoints in the region and the US-China rivalry. Earlier this month, a Chinese Coast Guard ship blasted a Philippine supply ship with a water cannon in the disputed waters, and last month, a Chinese Coast Guard ship and an accompanying vessel rammed a Philippine Coast Guard ship and a military-run supply boat near a contested shoal, according to Philippine officials. Speaking on Sunday in Honolulu, Marcos said China has been showing interest in atolls and shoals that are closer and closer to the coast of the Philippines, with the nearest atoll about 60 nautical miles or 111 kilometers away. Under Marcos, who was elected last year, the Philippines has been deepening its relationship with the US in a shift from his predecessor Rodrigo Duterte, who had been closer to China and Russia. In February, Marcos approved an expansion of the U.S. military presence in the Philippines to add 4 new bases from 5 existing sites under a 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement between the longtime treaty allies. The move, which Marcos said would boost the Philippines' coastal defense, dovetails with the Biden administration's efforts to strengthen an arc of military alliances in the Indo-Pacific to better counter China. Marcos has also been strengthening ties with others, including Tokyo, signing an agreement early in the year to allow Japanese troops to join training exercises.
South Korea on Wednesday announced the partial suspension of a landmark inter-Korean military agreement, hours after North Korea said it launched a spy satellite. Hyo Taek-hyun, the South Korean Deputy Minister of National Defense Policy, said as of 3 p.m. Wednesday, the government has decided to suspend Article 1, Clause 3 of the 919 Inter-Korean Agreement.
The move allows South Korea to immediately resume surveillance and reconnaissance of North Korea along the military demarcation line. He also emphasized that North Korea is responsible for the suspension of the agreement and further provocations will be met with a strong response from the South Korea-US alliance.
Despite our military's warning, North Korea went ahead with the military spy satellite launch yesterday. North Korea's so-called military spy satellite launch is a clear violation of a UN Security Council resolution that prohibits North Korea from firing ballistic missiles and provocation that threatens our national security. After the cabinet meeting and sending notifications to North Korea, the government has decided to suspend Article 1, Clause 3 of the 9.19 Inter-Korean Agreement as of 1500 today. The military will restore aerial reconnaissance and surveillance in the area around the military demarcation line.
Earlier, North Korea said it placed the spy satellite into orbit with its third launch attempt this year. The North's claim could not immediately independently be confirmed. Observers doubt whether the satellite is advanced enough to perform military reconnaissance.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We will see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Goodbye.